Hello students, welcome to my channel. Students, in the last lecture we started the second chapter of class 11 physics, which is units and measurements. Today we will study some more topics of the same chapter, so let's start. The first topic for today is system of units. So if you remember students, in the last lecture our last topic was fundamental and derived units. What are the fundamental units? There are certain physical quantities whose units are independent, means that they cannot be expressed in terms of any other units, or they cannot be expressed in terms of combinations or as a relation to the other units. Such kind of the independent units are called as the fundamental units or the base units. Now, what are the derived units? There are some more physical quantities whose units are expressed in terms of some other units, that is the base units or the fundamental units, or as their combinations of the base units or the fundamental units, and these are called as the derived units. Derived units, as the name suggests, it's something which has been derived from a source, from a base, which is the fundamental unit or the base unit. So these are the two units, that is the fundamental units and the base units. For example, length, time, mass, these all will be the fundamental physical quantities. The units will be the fundamental units. If we have to express the speed, we write as distance upon time, so it will be L upon T, so it will be a derived unit. Now, what is the system of units? So the complete set of both of these units, that is the fundamental units and the derived units, is called as the system of units. Let's write down the definition. System of units. The complete set of the fundamental and derived units is called as the system of units. Fundamental or base units are independent and the derived units will depend upon the base units. So this is the definition of the system of units. Now students, since our world is so big, there are so many countries, so many regions, so many people who are living, so it is possible that a certain group of the people call a particular physical quantity or call a particular unit, use a certain unit for some physical quantity for the sake of convenience or simplicity. It is possible that a certain group of people, a region, a country use that system of units. So in this way we have come across three systems of units depending upon the region, depending upon the country, depending upon the units which people want to use, their ease, their convenience. So let's find out that what are these three systems of the units, and then we will discuss that because of all these three units there occurred some kind of the problem, because of which we arrived at a single system of the unit which is called as the SI system. So let's discuss that. CGS or the Gaussian system of the units. So the physical quantity in this will be length, mass and time. The unit which we'll be using will be centimeter, gram and second. So we'll use the initial of each of our unit, which is C, G and S, and hence we get the name the CGS system of the unit. It is also called as the Gaussian system of the unit. So this is a system of the units. It has got these units for length, mass and time. It is a metric system or the decimal system. Metric system means that each multiple or sub-multiple of the fundamental unit is expressed in powers of 10 of the corresponding fundamental unit. For example, if we take the length as the fundamental quantity, then we have kilometer is a high order unit, is a higher unit for length. 1 kilometer will be equal to 1000 meters, which is equal to 10 raised to the power 3 meters. Now if I have to write 1 meter will be equal to 100 centimeter, that is 10 raised to the power 2 centimeters. If I have to write 1 centimeter, it will be equal to 10 millimeters. So if we see that each higher unit has been expressed in powers of 10 of the corresponding lower unit, right? We have 10 raised to the power 2, 10 raised to the power 3. As we go higher, we'll increase the powers. So in this way the conversion within the system of the units is quite easy. That is why we use the decimal system of the unit, or decimal system or the metric system. So this CGS system is a metric system. This is our CGS system of the units. Let us now understand the FPS system of units. This is the FPS system of the units, which has been named after the foot, pound and second. We use the first letter F, P and S, and we have the FPS system of the units. For the physical quantities of length, mass and time, we'll have foot, pound and second as the units respectively. Now 1 foot is equal to 12 inch. Higher unit for foot will be yard and mile. 1 yard is equal to 3 foot and 1 mile is equal to 1760 yard. Now as we can see, the conversion factor here is not 10. So this is not a metric system of the units. If you talk about the pound, 1 pound is equal to 0.454 kg. Second is as usual second. So this is the FPS system of the unit, and it is also called as the British system of the units. It was used till recently in Britain. So this is the FPS system. It is also called as the British unit system, and it is not a metric system. Next is our MKS system. MKS system of the units. For length, mass and time, the units which we will use are meter, kilogram and second. The symbols will be M, kg and S. We will use M, K and S, and hence the name MKS system. This is again a metric system of the unit, means that the conversion will be obtained, or the higher units will be obtained and multiplying the lower units by 10. So this is the MKS system of the units. Students, these three systems of the units have been developed over time. Now, as we are aware that there's a lot of trade going on between countries, there's a lot of commercial work going on between countries, there's a lot of scientific work, technical work. So there was a need for a system of the units which was internationally accepted. Means that there was no conversion factor to convert one system into other system, so that things become simple and easy for us. As we are aware that the currency which we use in our country is rupee. In US it will be dollar. So we need to know what is the conversion factor between the rupee and the dollar in order to go on with the trade, or for our whatever purposes, commercial purposes, for the import export, whatever work is going on, we need to know the conversion factor. So in the same way, there's a lot of commercial work, lot of trade which is going on between the countries. So we have to use the system of the units which is internationally accepted. It will be the same here, it will be the same in other countries as well, to make things easy for us, just to remove the complications. So there was a conference which is called as the General Conference on the Weights and Measures in 1971, where a group of scientists, a group of physicists sat together. They defined a system of the units which is called as the fundamental units or the base units, in which they came across, or they gave 7 units, 7 physical quantities, 7 units, whose units are independent of other units. Means that they cannot be expressed in terms or as combinations of other units. These were called as the fundamental or the base units. So also, and the system of the units which they use is called as the International System of the Units, which is the English name, the French for System International D Units. So this system of units is internationally accepted. It will be used all around the world. It is the same for everybody. So this was given to make things easy, whatever the commercial work is there, scientific, technical, whatever work is going on, to make things easier. The system is a metric system, so that the conversion within the system is quite easy. Let us get an idea about the SI system of units. So SI system, there was a conference, General Conference on the Weights and Measures in Geneva in 1971. Who gave the system International D Units. This is the French name for International System of Units, in which they gave 7 fundamental or base units. The standard units were given, their symbols were given, their abbreviations were given. It was a metric system of units, and this is the internationally accepted system of units. So this is the SI system of units. We will now write down what are the units and symbols and physical quantities in this system of units. This is our SI system of units. We have 7 physical quantities: length, mass, time, electric current, thermodynamic temperature, amount of substance and luminous intensity. The units which we use are, for length we have meter, symbol is small m, mass kilogram, symbol will be kg, time second, symbol is small s, electric current ampere, symbol is capital A, thermodynamic temperature Kelvin, symbol is capital K, amount of substance mole, symbol is MOL in small, luminous intensity candela, and the symbol will be CD in small. Now students, since the whole purpose of forming this system of units is to make things simple and uncomplicated for us, so to keep things simple, we have avoided the grammar here, means that the first letter of all the units will be written in small except for the names of the units which have been named after the physicist who discovered them, like ampere and Kelvin. To honor them, we will use a capital letter in their units as well as in their symbols. Rest of the units will be beginning with a small letter. The symbols will be in small letters. So this is our SI system of units. Students, just 2 years after this general conference on weights and measures, there was another conference in which the physicists defined 2 more units which are called as the supplementary units in addition to these 7 base units. Those 2 units also are independent of other units, means that they cannot be expressed as a combination or in terms of any other units, and they are called as the supplementary units. Let's also write down what are those units. We have the supplementary units. So the physical quantity will be the plane angle and the solid angle. Unit will be radian and steradian. The symbol will be R and SR. So these are our supplementary units which were given in addition to the 7 base units. Friends, the SI system of units has got some advantages over the other system of units. Let's get an idea about that. First is that it is a rational system of units, means that there is only one unit for one physical quantity. There will be a single unit for a particular physical quantity. If we have the physical quantity of energy, in the MKS system, for mechanical, heat and electrical energy, the units will be different. Mechanical will be joule, for the heat energy we have calorie, for the electrical energy we have watt hour. But in SI system, the unit will be joule for the different forms of energy. So here you can see that it makes things simple for us. There can be many forms of energy, but the unit which we use for all of these will be joule, because it is difficult to remember different units for a particular single physical quantity. So in this way, it is a rational system of units. It is a coherent system, means that the derived units are obtained by multiplying or dividing the base units without using any numerical factor. Just like we studied that there are some fundamental units also called as the base units, and we have the derived units. So the derived units are obtained simply by multiplying or dividing the base units. We do not have to use any kind of the numerical factor in that, because it will be difficult for us to remember. So for the sake of simplicity, we will just divide or multiply our base units and we will obtain the derived units. For example, speed is equal to distance upon it is a physical quantity which has been derived from the fundamental quantities, and the unit will also be written as this: length upon time, which is equal to meter upon second, that is meter per unit second. So in this way, for other units also we have force. So force is equal to M into A. M, as we know, it is kilogram, so we have kg. Acceleration is equal to distance upon time square, so it is equal to distance, means we have meter upon time square, that is s square. So we have kg m s raised to the power minus 2. We do not have any kind of the numerical factor. So this is the coherent system. In electricity, the SI units are the same as the practical units. In electricity, we use the certain terms like resistance, voltage and inductance. The practical units and the SI units for these physical quantities will be same. For resistance we have ohm, for voltage we have volts, and for inductance we have Henry. So it makes things easy for us. So students, these are the advantages of the SI system of units over the other systems, and hence it is an internationally accepted system of units which is being used widely all around the world. Now let us get an idea about the physical quantities which we have in our fundamental units and in our supplementary units. First is the length. So what is a length? Length, as we know, it is a measure of the distance between the 2 points. Whatever distance we have, when we measure it, we call as the length. Between this point and this point, what do we have? We have this much of length. It can have a certain value. In the same way, between this point and this point, we have certain length we can measure. So length is a measure of the distance. Unit, as we know, will be meter and the symbol will be m. Next is the time. So whatever is being spent by us on a daily basis is the time, and the unit for time will be second. The symbol will be S. Next is mass. So mass in physics is a quantitative measure of the inertia, which is a fundamental property of a body. So it is a measure of how much resistance a body is capable of offering to the change in the position or the change in the velocity whenever a force is applied. If the mass is large, the change which is produced by the force will be small. If we have a very heavy object, when we push it, we have to apply a lot of force, but the change in its position will be very small. So the larger the mass, the greater the mass, the smaller will be the change in its position. So it is a measure of the inertia or a resistance of an object. Mass is a quantitative measure of the inertia of an object. It is the resistance which an object offers to the change in the position or the speed on the application of the force. It is a fundamental property of a body. Students, we hear two terms on a very frequent basis, that is mass and weight. But there is a lot of difference between these two terms. So let us try to understand that. Mass and weight. Mass is how much matter an object contains. Just like we discussed, it is the amount of the matter which is contained in an object. It is a measure of the inertia, that is the resistance which an body offers. The greater the mass, the smaller will be the change in its position or in its speed. It is constant for a body and it does not change with a location. The mass will be constant at every location. It can be moon, it can be earth, it will be the same everywhere. The unit for mass will be kg, which is the SI unit, just like we discussed. For the weight, it is a force exerted on a mass by gravity. So weight is a force. Weight is actually a force which is being exerted upon the mass by the gravity. We will discuss the formula in other chapters. It is not constant and changes from place to place. Weight is something which is not constant because it is dependent upon the gravity. The gravity on earth will be different from the gravity on moon. The gravity on moon is 1/6 to the 1/6 to the gravity on earth, and it depends upon gravity. So the weight is a force which will be different at different places. The unit for this will be Newton. So these are the differences between mass and weight. Weight is actually a force. Mass is simply a measure of how much matter an object contains. Electric current, it is a measure of the rate of flow of charge through a surface. The rate of flow of charge, the amount of the charge which is flowing through a surface, is called as the electric current. Thermodynamic temperature, it is the measure of the degree of hotness or coldness. When we use the thermometer to measure the temperature on the winter days, the temperature will be low. In the summer days, it will be high. So it is a measure of the degree of hotness or coldness, which is the thermodynamic temperature. Amount of substance. The number of constituent particles contained in an object is called as the amount of substance. In the mass, we studied that mass is the amount of the matter which is contained in an object. The amount of substance will be specifically the number of particles which are contained in an object. Now, whenever we talk about the amount of substance or the unit of the amount of substance, it is very important that we have to define that what constituent particles we are talking about. It can be atoms, it can be ions, it can be molecules, it can be electrons. So when we talk about the amount of substance, we are talking about the number of constituent particles. The unit for this will be mole. The symbol will be mol. 1 mole is equal to 6.023 into 10 raised to the power 23 particles, and this number is called as the Avogadro number. The amount of substance for this unit is very widely used in chemistry. Luminous intensity, it is the visible light that is being emitted in unit time per unit solid angle. every source of the light, every point source is emitting some amount of the light. So the visible light which is being emitted per unit time, per unit solid angle is called as the luminous intensity. If we have an electric bulb like this, we have the solid angle d omega, we have the amount of the visible light which is being emitted per unit time as d phi. So I will be equal to d phi by d omega. We'll just after this we'll just discuss what is the solid angle. So this is the luminous intensity. So this covers our physical quantities which are used in the fundamental system of the units. Now we'll discuss the supplementary units. One more thing, that for the luminous intensity, the unit which we use will be candela with small letters of course, and the symbol will be CD. Plane angle, it is the ratio of the length of the arc to the radius. So plane is something which has got two dimensions, like we have the plane of the page, we have the plane of our board. Plane angle, it is the ratio of the length of the arc to the radius. We have this board, so we have a plane in two dimensions. We draw an angle on this plane, we call it as the plane angle. If we have the center as O, we draw an angle about this. The length of the arc is ds, the radius is r, the angle will be d theta. So it will be equal to the ratio of the length of the arc, that is ds, to the radius, that is r. D theta is equal to ds by r. The unit will be radian, the symbol will be r. So this is plane angle. Plane angle we study on a very wide basis in mathematics also. So this is the plane angle. Let's now discuss the solid angle. Solid angle, it is the ratio of the intercepted area dA of the spherical surface about the apex as the center to the square of the radius. d omega is equal to dA upon r square. Students, we all must have seen the birthday caps. When we look at the birthday caps, it goes in the form of a cone like this, and there is a surface which is being formed at its outer or open edge. Now apex is the highest point of any figure is called as the apex. So solid angle is the ratio of the intercepted area d of the spherical surface. If you look at the open end of the cone, we have an area which is being formed with the apex as the center, that is the highest point in the middle as the center. So the intercepted area dA divided by r square, which is the radius of that particular cone, is called as the solid angle. D omega is equal to dA upon r square. I'll just draw a figure and it will make things little more easy. So students, here we have an area like this. Whenever we talk about the solid angle, means that we are talking in 3 dimensions. So we have, so plane angle is basically in 2 dimensions without using the third dimension, and when we talk about the solid angle, we are taking all the 3 dimensions into consideration, that is x, y and z. So we have d omega, that is the solid angle, will be equal to dA, which is the area over here, upon radius squared. So d omega is equal to dA upon r square. The unit will be steradian and the symbol will be SR. Now both the plane angle as well as the solid angle are dimensionless quantities. The plane angle and solid angle both are dimensionless quantities. So these are our supplementary quantities. So students, in today's lecture we got an idea about the system of units, what are our base units, what are our derived units, supplementary units, and the advantages of our SI system of the units. So this was all about today's class, students. In the next class we'll study some more topics of the same chapter. Thanks for watching. Do join the next class.